What's up, family? Welcome to Speak. Breaking news in the NBA. News so big that it interjects into the football season. Bucks head coach Adrian Griffin fired after 43 games. Now, keep in mind, the Bucks were one of the favorites to win the entire title, and now the team which boasts Giannis, the team which boasts Dame, a team that's won 5 of their last 6 games, fired their coach in dramatic fashion. Chaos, I tell you. Chaos. I got to bring in NBA analyst Slick Ric Bucher to break this all down for me. Slick, what's the good word, my friend?
Well, the word is not good for Adrian Griffin, obviously. And the word is that winning, we've always thought winning cures everything. That, obviously, is no longer true because the Milwaukee Bucks, as you mentioned, have won 5 of their last 6, 30-13, second in the Eastern Conference, one of the winningest teams in the NBA. But they felt that they were doing that in spite of their head coach. And this goes back to the stepping down of Terry Stotts at the beginning of the year. The feeling was that Adrian, as a first-year coach, was simply too controlling. And in spite of all their winning ways, they did not feel the team was moving in the right direction. Players were not happy. There was not a happy vibe, not the kind of vibe that you would expect for a 30-13 team. And thus, they decided it was time to make a move sooner rather than later.
Question. Slick, you're talking to me about vibes right now. Let's talk about winning. They have the second best record, second in the East. You bring in a coach, a first-year coach, to have the second best record in the East. It's not disappointing that they're trailing the Celtics team, which was perennially atop the NBA. So I hear you that the vibes aren't great, but how in the world do vibes trump excellence? How are vibes trumping where they're seated right now? This is crazy to me.
Yeah, it does sound crazy. And I honestly, Acho, I've never seen this before in the NBA. I've seen coaches fired after 50-win seasons because they didn't go far enough in the postseason. But this is midway and in mid-stride. As you said, they're second in the Eastern Conference, but there just was they weren't happy. They were probably the most frustrated, down 30-13 team that we've ever seen in the NBA. So we constantly are seeing new things happening. And the bar being set higher and higher. And let's face it, it is because of that bar. If this wasn't a team with Giannis Antetokounmpo that had just acquired Damian Lillard and expected to be playing for a championship, and as Giannis has said, like, it's not a matter of the record, it's how do we feel about the way that we're playing? Are we moving in the right direction? And they felt that they were not, and the players were not buying in to Griff. And I'm sure that you and Shady and James all can understand this. Players know when coaches are on point or not. And it doesn't matter whether you're being successful or not. If they feel like the coach doesn't know the game as well as they do, you're going to have rumblings and issues. And I've been hearing these rumblings since the beginning of the season. I just never expected that it was going to happen in midstream.
Now, Slick, speaking of a coach being on point, one of the biggest names in basketball, really, since the turn of the century is Doc Rivers. He's a coach that's won an NBA title, but many would say he is underachieved when you look at his body of work. Word on the street is that Doc Rivers is a top candidate to replace Adrian Griffin. Does that make sense to you? Because when I look at Doc Rivers, he fell short with the Clippers. When I look at Doc Rivers, he fell short with the Sixers. When I look at Doc Rivers, he underachieved with the Celtics, even though they won a title. He was a part of a first big three that I believe should have won more than one title. Fell short, underachieved. Why in the world would Giannis and or Dame even want a coach like Doc Rivers? Make sense of that for me.
Because you're only as good as your options. What other direction are they going to go? They've decided Adrian Griffin was not the answer. So who else could they possibly go to at this point that has the experience? And this is generally how it goes. When you have a player coach, or you have a controlling coach, or you have a brand new coach, and it does not work out, you go the other direction. Let's go get the veteran coach. Let's go get the coach who knows how to talk to the players, who knows how to connect with them. And Doc, for the most part, has demonstrated that he is able to do that. And again, I will go back to the first point. Where else are they going to go? Who else are they going to get? You might hear a Jeff Van Gundy name get thrown out there, but I would guarantee you, I would be surprised, let's put it that way, if they do not go in the direction of a veteran coach. And let's go to the other side. I know it's being said out there that they have not had contact yet. Doc Rivers has always had his next job lined up before he left his last one. So I would not be the least surprised if this has been in the works for a while.
Slick, I appreciate you. We literally were texting as this news broke. I assume you and I will stay in touch throughout the rest of this news and bring you back if anything else breaks. But thanks so much for taking the time, my friend.
Oh, man, Slick.
Heading to the desk, Shady, James Jones, Joy, Taylor. Crazy news. It's been a wild NFL weekend, but this news really has to trump everything. Joy, what was your reaction when you saw that the Bucks, the two-seeded team, fired their head coach, Adrian Griffin?
Well, I mean, it's surprising because of the position that they're in the conference right now. They're winning. Like, they're playing well. So you wouldn't think that this is something that was even on the board. So the fact that it did happen shows you how bad the energy was in the building. You said vibes, energy, whatever it is, the players have had enough, clearly. That's the only reason that a move like this gets made when you're playing as well as the Bucks are playing. They're in a win-now situation. You've got Giannis, you've got Dame, you've got the roster, you're in the position in the conference to go and compete for a championship, which was obviously why you made the move in the first place. And if things are that toxic, you can't risk it. You just can't. So whether the Doc Rivers hire is the right answer or not, like Slick said, you're only as good as your options right now, and they are mid-season. You're looking for a veteran coach that you know exactly how they're going to interact with players. The players clearly want Doc in there if this is a conversation that's even being had and his name is out there, because the players clearly wanted Griff out. You saw some rumblings of this even before the season started with Terry Stotts leaving. I mean, he was somebody that worked with Dame for a long time, was in Portland for a long time. For him to leave and respected and is there to support a young coach as he's coming along and obviously working with Dame. So it's not surprising that it happened if it's truly that bad, because they're in a win-now situation.
2-5. Let's talk about Doc Rivers for a second. Obviously, you know Doc Rivers because you are a big Sixers fan, Eagles all-time rushing leader. Doc Rivers, he disappointed with the Sixers. If you are the Milwaukee Bucks, if you're Giannis Antetokounmpo, and obviously you're a part of the reason Adrian Griffin is gone, you're the superstar player. You've been that player before. Talk to me about this Doc Rivers potential.
So when you got this whole thing where, like, the coach gets fired, the players we talk about, what's going on, who we going to get next. My thing is, why Doc Rivers? Because he got a hot name? He's not like that. Be honest, he's not like that. First of all, 24 years he's been to 2 finals, right? You give this dude all the all-stars you need with a nice bench, with the Clippers. What happened? Nothing. Right? Seriously, though. Then you look at the Sixers. Joel Embiid, you see what he's doing right now. He's getting crazy busy, giving out crazy buckets. Another MVP. What do you have, 72 something? 82, 92? Let me hype it up. Anyway, my thing is, why are we bringing Doc Rivers? You got Giannis, you got Dame with a solid team. Please don't bring this man in and mess up this roster. I've seen it before. He had me all hyped up in Philadelphia until we really see it really happen. This is a coach with a good name.
I don't think it's going to be any roster changes. He's not coming in there doing any roster changes. But one thing we do know that we are going to get with Doc Rivers is Doc Rivers knows how to control a locker room, right? One thing I know about coaches, if you don't have the locker room, you have nothing, right? Doc Rivers knows how to motivate players. I'm not saying it turns into wins, right? Because, yes, 24 years, whatever it is, 2 finals, right? But you've never really heard this stuff that's coming out here coming out of a Doc Rivers locker room.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Like, these dudes, these players are saying that, you know, dude is doing stuff his own way and this and that, and he does not have the locker room. So when you go up to the top and you're talking about, hey, man, this coach doing this, doing that, even though we are winning, that carries weight. And he does not have this locker room. So for me, you bring in a guy like Doc Rivers, who I think can kind of rally this locker room.
I will say this, though, Acho. Like, I had a good time and a good relationship with Paul Pierce, right? And we interviewed him with my podcast, whatever. And I said, yo, what's up with Doc, man? Like, you know, I gave him an elbow. Like, give me the real. What's up with him, right? How is he a good coach like they say? What's so good about it? And he sat there and he thought about it. I'm like, damn, you thinking about this? And his final answer was, you know what? He understands the players so well. That's it? that's all you give him?
Might be all they need.
Because we've been in the locker room and playing on good teams, right, and being that dude on these teams, if a coach can't relate to the player, you know what they do? They go out there and they get an ex-player or somebody in the coaching staff that relate to the players, right? Because we need you to coach. I get it. I don't need no babysitters. I don't need nobody to understand my trauma I had as a kid. Find somebody for that, right? They got all type of counseling, all type of stuff for that. I need you to coach this team and get us a championship. I don't need all that babysitting. Dudes making hundreds of million dollars out here. We don't need none of that. If we need somebody to get a staff to understand the players, you go hire somebody to do that. I need you to coach me to get a championship.
I'm with you.
24 years and 2 chips, and we gonna bring him in there?
That's why I truly believe it's strictly just to help that locker room, because we know what his resume say.
No doubt about that.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.